You know, it just seems like that when you have a climate that doesn't really have a winter that's the same every year, and I don't mean like the same temperature, but you know, we go 80s and then 50s and then bounce up and down, and then every year it's different. Like this year, very similar to last year in that we've stayed, you know, cool for a long time. Like, you know, nightly temperatures in the 50s or lower. So that gives us a higher chill hour. So, I mean, we're going to probably have 3 times as much chill as we normally do, just like last year. But it seems like you really can't go by when a tree wakes as to whether it's going to do well in your climate. I mean, that's just what I'm gathering by the mulberry trees. Like right now, Lakeland Tropical's not awake. Not one bud on it is awake. But Tice is waking up. Both my trees are waking up, which, if I remember correctly, is very early. For February, first part of February, February 3rd. And there's buds waking all over the tree, which I believe that is very unusual for Tice. And Pakistani is not waking, and it's usually the first to wake and fruit with Maui. Those are usually the first 2 trees that wake and fruit. I'm sitting here trying to think which ones do wake and fruit. Yeah, Tice is usually way behind the other trees to wake and fruit. So Maui and Pakistani are usually first, and I believe Australian green, and then right behind that would be usually World's Best, and then about 2 weeks later Jan's Best. But you know, it just seems like it's been totally different this year. And then last year, you know, even late fall, we had fruit on the Morris rubra hybrids that we would not normally have a crop of fruit like that. So everything seems to be acting differently. And Peruvian is just waking up, starting to bud out. I don't see anything on Grover's Best yet. Jan's Best. You know, we're going to be in the mid-80s all this week. And so I'm sure a lot of things are going to start waking. And we are not, you know, we're not necessarily at all over our winter, and we could still get, you know, another freeze. But Jan's Best is not budding out. Shangri-La, not budding out. Ranger Ken, nope, that's a white one. And yes, Shangri-La, no. This is a Pakistani mulberry, and I see one bud, but this is a mulberry I have had, I don't know, I would say 5 years. I would say this is at least the 5th year, and it has never fruited. So it is probably a Pakistani mulberry that is a tissue culture grown mulberry. So, you know, it can be 5 to 7 years before they fruit. And most of them in the nurseries are tissue cultures, which is fine, but you know, if you know that when you're getting it, so you don't think something's wrong with your tree, or, you know, a lot of people think they've got a male tree, but no, even if you had a male tree, it's going to produce flowers that look similar to a mulberry fruit, except they just dry up quickly and fall off. So nothing wrong with a tissue culture if you know it's a tissue culture and you're okay with waiting 5 years. I mean, sometimes 4, but most of the time it's 5 to 7 years before you get fruit. world's best. So there was some damage, but there's a lot of fruit that's fine. So this is gonna have a lot of fruit. And let's see. And then old Lakeland Road, never even thought about going to sleep. And then I covered up the graft. I'm glad I covered up the graft because this is chicken claw. And it got some damage even having it covered up with the freeze. And that's just because it's a new graft. And when you have newly planted mulberries, even in the last 6 months, you can't expect them to be okay in a freeze. You need to cover them and baby them a while if you're in a really cold climate and you're trying with mulberries that, are iffy in that environment. If you'll baby them, like let's say you root them out the first of spring and then you keep them in a pot the first year, so you want them in a pot a size that they get root bound very quickly, most mulberries in pots. So you want a big pot that you can keep it in at least the first year. And if you're in a really cold climate, say a 5 or a 6 zone, then you're going to want to keep it in a pot 2 years and keep it protected and put up from your freezes. And then let's say that third year, second or third year, immediately when you get your spring, you want to get it planted out, mulch it heavily. And even after that, the first year, your first winter, if you will protect it, give it some protection, you should be good. And a lot of times you can grow mulberries that people say you can't in that climate. So I know Bill in New Hampshire, that's a zone 5, has Jan's Best that's been doing great in the ground for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. And I think he has a Pakistani there, if I'm not mistaken. And he says that's, that's really how you do it when you want to grow mulberries in a climate like that. So it's worth the try, that's for sure, doing it that way. Because I love my mulberries. I cannot wait for spring. Delicious mulberries again. And I don't know, I was showing you this. I showed you this the day after we froze. So this is an avocado tree. Did not look like it had one bit of damage. And now look at it. So you have to wait even maybe a week sometimes to see damage on things. But yeah, it's gotten tore up from the floor up, but definitely gonna live. But I thought it was a lot more cold hardy. I don't know what it is. It's just every single avocado that I have, which I have, I think, 5 planted. They're all from seeds, so I have no clue what I'm gonna get. I love to do stuff like that. I love to grow things from seeds and just see what I get. I'm always expecting it to be phenomenal, something delicious. And let's see, my Indian jujube fruit is kind of drying up and dying from the freeze, but there's still a lot of good fruit on there. And it did not get any damage that I see, which is awesome. All right, have a great day. Plant lots of fruit trees. Central Florida, Zone 9B. And we get about 100 chill hours.